All right. Howdy, everyone, and welcome. Zac Gordon here, and we are doing some behind-the-scenes planning with my friend Andrew Taylor from Pantheon, also developer extraordinaire. Andrew, thank you for coming on and talking about your talk here on the JavaScript for WordPress conference we got coming up.
Yeah, my pleasure. Zach, I've known you in the community a long time. I really like what you're doing. I've taken some of your courses, so I think part of being a good open source citizen is giving back. So I appreciate you giving me this opportunity.
Well, awesome. Yeah, hopefully this is going to be a smashing event, just kind of setting some ground rules, folks. Like, this is not going to be your beginner's JavaScript. We're really trying to cater to the average devs who have pulled some things together, know a thing or two, but also have room to go deeper. And I think the talk you're going to give today is spot. Well, not today. We're going to talk about it today. You're not going to give it until June 29th, day of the conference. Free for everyone, but let's get in. So we've chatted a bit behind the scenes. We hung out at WordCamp Miami on the couch there in the beautiful sunshine and talked through some ideas. But just for everybody watching, what are you thinking in terms of talk here, my friend?
Yeah, so some of the stuff I've been doing with Pantheon is really a lot of consulting with our agency partners around automation, continuous integration, and how to improve their workflows. And so I want to see what that looks like with JavaScript, right? So how can you take your JavaScript process, and we can talk about benefits, how to sell it to your boss. We can, spend the time. Where should I even start? Why would I want to do this thing I've heard about and everyone's telling me I need to do it? What's the real reason I should be doing it? And then actually maybe look at a couple practical examples as well.
I love it. I love it. And you know a thing or two about servers and performance and running things a lot and having the bandwidth and writing code smart to do that. So this is kind of a little bit up your alley too, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is the type of stuff I do day to day. I've been doing it more on the PHP side and some of the BHAT tests for WordPress and things like that. So it'll be really interesting to kind of spend some time digging in and really seeing what this means for the JavaScript side as well.
Well, I love that, man. Let's just kind of set a precedence. What background experience do you imagine the person having so that they could get the most out of what you're going to talk about? Because like I said, it's not for beginners. Hopefully you've heard of continuous integration or testing or automation and things like that, right? But did you have anything particular in mind?
Yeah, so you don't need to have like a ton of experience with Circle or Travis or whatever. You will probably need to pick one, and we'll cover some of that stuff, but you don't need to be a super ninja. You do need to be comfortable like writing some bash scripts or a YAML file to do some configuration with that sort of thing, working with the command line since things are automated. A lot of it, there's no friendly UI to walk you through it. You actually have to get your hands dirty and write out some of these scripts, so not being afraid to do that.
Messages aren't a helpful UI.
Yeah, about as helpful as Windows error messages can be.
Cool. Okay. Are there any specific tools that maybe folks might already be using that they don't really realize could become part of this automation process, that maybe they haven't used Travis or Circle, but they are using other things that they could benefit from?
Yeah, I think really we're going to be looking at anything you do after you write the code that turns it into the state where it's ready to go, either to be shipped or reviewed by someone else. That might mean using a JavaScript task runner to compile assets, or especially with modern JavaScript, right? Taking that ES6, so we like that syntactic sugar, and turning it into like ES 2015 stuff. So if you have any of those sort of steps, just start thinking about what you're doing after you actually write the lines of code to get it to an end state, and then maybe any testing you would want to do. So that might be manual QA, or I'm going to go check and make sure that I didn't break this critical functionality. Like, what's some of that QA look like that you're doing? Or, maybe I go to the homepage of the site and I make sure that the menus still work, or whatever those sorts of things. Expanding your brain and thinking about automation more than just one-off things, but it's larger parts of your workflow, and anything that you or your team are doing in a repetitive process, we want to offload that to the robots in the cloud.
Dude, so I feel like this is so valuable, and I'm so glad that this is something you love, because I think for a lot of people, even if this kind of topic interests them, having the background, and this is not something you pick up super fast. So I think they're going to learn a ton from this. And maybe if you're cool, we could take a few more minutes and just kind of chat through any rough outline you had or major points that you want to get into. You're not on the spot to give the talk now, but if they're, I know folks would probably love a little sneak peek at what's coming.
Yeah, definitely. So like I said before, talking about the benefits, sort of where do I start, and then look at a few practical examples like, using Babel or something, maybe using some jest tests or that sort of thing. I really haven't figured out what project I want to do this on. I have a Gutenberg plugin that I think would be a great fit to do some of the stuff. We'll talk about how to get started, the benefits, and sort of the process, and more of, you're not going to go from 0 to 100. It really is a journey. Like you said, it takes a long time to wrap your head around this stuff. So I just want to make sure that folks know how to take those steps one at a time and kind of what order to do things in, so they, you don't melt your brain trying to do it all in one weekend, because that's not realistic, right? So we'll look at what does that path look like and how can I take some steps towards automation and get down that journey.
Cool. Okay, that sounds good. So folks will kind of have an idea. I like what you said, show them what the steps are, but not that you need to take all of these one by one. What are some, you mentioned examples. Examples are great. I don't know, you might want to be a little bit careful running stuff. Although if you trust your automation, then you should just hit it and no problems, doing live demos. But what are some things, you mentioned a Gutenberg plugin, some in terms of examples that you think you might run through or would be helpful, or
I just look at that. We'd look at the code, what do some of those configuration files look like, and what do some of those scripts look like, and what can you expect to be writing and setting up, and what are some different frameworks and tools and some of that stuff. So
nice. And you mentioned some stuff like front-end testing. Are there tools that you integrate for that kind of stuff as well, like checking that the website still works or you didn't break the form or something like that?
Yeah, so there's all kinds of tests, and we can look at some of the different types. There's unit tests that look at your code at an individual level. There's integration tests that can look at your full WordPress website. So after it's shipped out to your staging site or whatever, we can make sure that the donation form works or search works or whatever that business critical piece is. We could do visual checks. We could do performance tests. It's really the whole gamut, but again, we're going to go back to what is your team doing? And so a lot of people like to dive in and they're like, oh man, I could do all these things with automation, but you have to be honest with yourself. And if, you're, maybe you built a shopping cart in JS, right? And so really, you should be setting up some dummy payment info, adding products to the cart, going through the whole process, checking coupon, a ton of stuff, right? That QA could be really thorough. And I'll see people that'll want to go through and just automate all of that. But it's no, take a step back. What are you really doing? And for me, after I make a quick tweak, if we're being honest with ourselves, what most of us do is go look at a few templates and make sure it's not broken, right? So start automating what you're actually doing and then expand from there, and we'll kind of take a look at what that process is like.
Wow, that is going to be super fun. I'm so glad, again, that you're covering this. I think having those examples would be so cool. Again, I like that you're not going to encourage them to do it all at once, but I feel that showing them the range of what can be done and realizing, this could be super practical for me. Because I think for a lot of folks, often there's a technical level to it and often think of just code running, but it could do maybe a little bit more. Although some of the code checks are really cool, both your own and checking that it works in context and all of that.
Yeah, and we're not going to spend a ton of time. Obviously within the time of the talk, I can't go show everyone the code for every single type of test you can run. I really want to stay more on the benefits and the high level, and some of the things you're going to get out of this is, well, what happens if you're out sick and someone else on the team needs to maintain your feature? Or you onboard a junior dev, do they have to learn 10 tools? Or if you automate that, is, that a documented, easy process that anyone can step into? We're going to look at some of those things and why you would want to do it.
Dope. I like that. Anything else off the top come to you in terms of, I mean, this is already like a whole afternoon or several day talk, right? So packing it into a 15-minute slot is going to be,
Yeah,
I think will be good.
yeah, definitely. I think it'll be good. I'll have to do some brainstorming and figure out exactly what I want to fit in and that kind of stuff. But if folks have an idea of what they'd rather see more of or less of, then definitely let us know. Like I'm open, a Taylor ME, hit me up on Twitter or whatever, and just I'm on the WordPress Slack also, and I'm on Zac Slack as well. So just hit me up and let me know what you want to see, and I'm happy to be accommodating.
Well, I think that that's perfect, man. Let me just ask you this kind of spoiler alert up front. Is there kind of a main takeaway you envision? Because it would be cool to have this be something that folks really could watch and take away something practical. Obviously, you're covering a lot, but anything come to mind for you there?
Yeah, main takeaway is, like I said, starting small, not being too ambitious and biting off more than you can chew. And a lot of the stuff you work with, like I talked about a Gutenberg plugin, Gutenberg core has tests already. So an easy, low-hanging fruit thing you can do is take the core test for whatever you're working on. And so now I can make sure that my Gutenberg plugin isn't going to break any of the core functionality if I'm just running those tests with every code update. So really, really easy stuff to do, and it kind of gets you familiar with the tools and things, and then you can go out and write custom tests and expand from there.
I love it. Folks, if you are watching, we do have some time before we're going to have the actual conference, free all-day online conference on June 29th, Friday. And Andrew, we haven't picked times exactly. Hopefully we'll get you in a good slot that works for you, but please ping them, A Taylor me, and I'll put the link up in the post, as well as find him, Andrew Taylor, on the WP Slack or in the JS for WP Slack if you're already part of the family there. Otherwise, I think it's going to be a great talk either way. But if you do have examples or things that that your team has been asking for, I'm sure maybe you can weave that in, and that would be super cool. So, my friend, always good hanging out. Thank you again for coming on.
All right, man. Thanks for having me.
Cool.